I'm Julie Spira. I'm an online dating expert, and I coach singles on how to find love on the internet. And I'm also the author of the bestseller, The Perils of Cyber Dating, Confessions of a Hopeful Romantic Looking for Love Online. My point today is, I believe there needs to be truth in advertising on online dating profiles. And that it's not okay to misrepresent yourself or lie about, simple things to serious things on your profile. So who's lying about what? The guys are typically lying about their height if they're short, and they might add 1 to 3 inches to their height. They might lie about their income. Let's say it's the last job they had before the economic turndown. Often their marital status. Yes, it's true. There are married people pretending to be single online. And laugh it or not, they lie about their hair color. They'll say their hair is still brown from their high school yearbook photo, when in fact they have turned a few shades of gray. So what are the ladies lying about? It's a known fact that lots of women lie about their age and their weight. Age typically 5 to 10 years. Weight about 8.5 pounds is the average amount of weight that people take off of their body. Also women, they post photos that are fairly old, and sometimes they're not recognizable. Shame on them. And the sad part is sometimes they will actually lie and not disclose the fact that they have children. So where do we draw the line between a little exaggeration about a few pounds here and there and actually lying about your marital status? Should someone who's actually separated, divorce pending, list their relationship status as single or divorced? My book, The Perils of Cyber Dating, will help you spot some of these red flags in these dating profiles and help you have a better dating experience. For more information, you can find me at cyberdatingexpert.com, and I certainly hope you follow me at Twitter @Julie Spira, where I talk about the marriage of love and technology, and also about my new book, The Rules of Netiquette, How to Mind Your Manners on the Web, at rulesofnetiquette.com.
Now, as I watch that video, I think of what I would write on my online profile, and my strategy is to set the expectations low. So I would age myself, I don't put on a few pounds. That way when the guy actually meets me, I know that he will be pleasantly surprised, right? But what do you think, Malcolm? I mean, it baffles me that people lie on their profiles when they know that eventually they're gonna meet this person in person.
Yeah, well, I like your strategy because it's a good approach for never having to go on any dates.
No, but I would assume that there will be someone out there who'd be willing to date you, and then you know that they would like you regardless of what you look like, right?
Well, if you're going to say on your profile that you're morbidly obese and you're going to attract interest from someone who really likes that, and then you show up and it's you. I mean, I like the idea of somebody who's really into that, and you show up and like, oh.
Boy, we'll take it. Yeah.
I guess I gotta sit
terrible.
through this meal with her. When I'm really thinking about, But I think it is curious because yes, they're going to find out. Presumably, I mean, you want them to find out. You want them to see you and meet you face to face. But I think it has to do with our capacity for self-delusion. And my hair is starting to go gray, but I can certainly pretend like these flecks are, they're just blonde. There's some leftover. I was blonde when I was a baby, so they must be coming out again or something. People will, when you're trying to put yourself out there, you want to put your best face forward, literally. And I think people are willing to shade that in their own minds, and then it comes out on their profile.
That's an excellent point, because some people might live in their own little bubble where they think, yeah, I got it going on. Like, that scale's broken. Okay, I'm definitely 10 or 15 pounds thinner than that. But Desi, what do you think about the taboo attached to online dating? Do you see it changing? Online dating's been around for a while now.
I think it's absolutely changing, and I think that's a good thing, because sort of for so long we've all been stuck within these arbitrary social norms, and now we don't have to be stuck within that. Women have more control, men have more control over who they choose to meet and who sounds interesting to them. They're not just left with whoever's at the bar or whoever they happen to stumble across in their daily life. And and the other thing I think about the lying, it's not really that bad. When you meet somebody at a bar, they can certainly lie to you about what they do, how much they make, where they've been, how old they are, whether they're married or not. All of that stuff they can lie about, and you still wouldn't know the fact on that until you got to know them later. So it's really not that much different from meeting somebody in person. It's the only thing they can't lie about is their height and their weight.
But you can still lie about it. Why not?
Well,
yeah,
sure.
I'm 6'4", sure, yeah. What, you're telling me I'm not?
You got a tape measure?
But on the internet add an extra layer to that, because of course you meet people at a bar and they will, puff themselves up and say, yes, they'll find euphemisms for what they do, and that's fine. But with online, or with the internet, you can lie about a lot of things, including your gender. What do you think about that, Lucas?
Well, I think there's sort of two pieces to misrepresenting yourself online. The first is that in some ways, I would think that it winds up making you a lot more nervous when you go to the date for the first time, because you're going to be thinking, God, what if they immediately notice these discrepancies? And the last thing you want to be is additionally nervous when you're going on a first date or first meeting someone, because it's hard enough as it is. So it seems like in some ways you're almost sabotaging yourself. But then the other part is, if you have made assertions about yourself that the person you're meeting can tell are not correct at the very outset, I mean, that sends up some serious warning flags that it's like, I don't know this person at all yet, and so far, the only thing I know is that they've already lied to me. I understand where that comes, where, wanting to misrepresent yourself maybe a little bit comes from, but in some ways, I do agree that being honest is the best policy, because it's going to make you more at ease. If you're being honest, you got no story that you need to maintain.
Well, isn't there a difference between presenting your best self or your idealized self rather than, I'm really sloppy and I don't clean up my room or something like that?
Yeah, the first thing you're going to do is present all of the aspects of your personality that are delightful. So when I think about myself, when I'm hungry, I'm grumpy, right? Am I going to include that in my profile? Am I going to talk about how I'm a raging bitch when I have a huge time crunch and people are trying to talk to me at work and I'm trying to do something on my computer? No, I'm not going to talk about that.
I'm sorry, okay? We had to prepare for the show. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about how I'm a co-host on the largest online news show in the world. I'm going to talk about how, I don't know, what else? What else is great?
This only extends to the physical realm, but that's what's interesting to me is the statistics that she mentioned in there as far as people misrepresenting their height or their weight. Some of those things you may be able to tell, especially if it's a drastic, difference between what this person said. And I mean, to me, if I were to be meeting someone immediately, it's like, well, I already feel like you were dishonest to me and I haven't even had a conversation with you yet.
But maybe that's the difference. Maybe you're not meeting them directly, immediately. Maybe you have time to get to know them, and so you get to have that fantasy of,
I can lose the weight.
I can
cut
lose the weight. Or once they get to know me, then they'll like me and they won't mind those extra 5 pounds, or that I'm not really 6'5".
I think that's what it is, because it reminds me that you hear about like actors when there's a job or there's they're looking to cast someone who. The casting agent says, "Can you ride a horse?" The answer is always yes. Whatever it is, can you do whatever? They always say yes. Like,
and you'll find a way to make it happen.
And then I'll learn to ride a horse. Or once they've hired me and they're screwed, they got to take me. So I think you're telling yourself, well, just get me in the door, and then I'll win them over with my charm and my personality, and that not that ever worked for me, but in theory, you can tell yourself, like, I'm a worthwhile person, I'm fun, I'm good looking, maybe not, it doesn't come across in my recent photos, but that you can tell yourself that you can win the person over if you just get face to face, but you need to, polish this, well, not turd, but
put some lipstick on that pig.
Yeah, exactly. You want to put your, even if it's not the best foot forward that you can realistically depict yourself as, then you'll do that just to get face to face with someone so you can win them over that way.
That's a really interesting strategy, and I think that it works maybe 10% of the time. Because I think, look, here's the reality. People obsess with the way someone is portrayed on these sites, right? They will go through the pictures. Let me share a personal story that I will probably regret later.
Great.
But there was like a 3-month stretch where I was single, and I know it was horrible. No, it was, but I thought, you know what? There's Match.com. Let me try it and see what happens. And there was this one guy that I thought was cute. He had one picture, and it was one of those pictures from a really strange angle where you can't tell if he's good looking. But I read his profile and I thought it was interesting. I emailed him and I said, hey, why don't we get together, whatever. And he said, I'm surprised that you actually contacted me. I purposely only put one strange picture of me because I don't want someone contacting me because they're superficial. And he's like, I gotta be honest, I've been on this site for a month and I only get a few people asking to meet with me. So people are obsessed with that, right? And when it comes to lying, it totally makes sense to me. And just to read some statistics that you talked about a little bit in your answer, Lucas, on average, both men and women exaggerate their height by 2 inches. People are on average 20% poorer than they claim to be, while men typically exaggerate their incomes by a bit more than women. And also, the more attractive the picture posted online on a dating site, the more likely it is that it is out of date. Okay, so it's an old picture. And female online daters were more likely to lie about their weight, 59% of them, followed by height, 42% of them, and age, 13% of them. Male internet dating profiles were most inaccurate about height, 61%, followed by weight, 55%, and age, 24%.
Interestingly, the men are more likely to lie about their age than the women are. Only 10-13% of the women were going to lie about their age.
Yeah, that was extremely surprising to me. I would assume that the women would lie about it. But maybe they're taking Lucas's advice and saying, look, I don't want to set the expectations too high and be nervous when I actually meet this guy.
Right, and men are lying about their cup size.
Well, if there was an entry for that, I'm sure they would.
Well, there's also what kind of lies are unacceptable. She talked about people who are separated, not yet divorced. Should they say that they're separated, not yet divorced? And I can see where you might choose not to do that on your profile, not to give out that much information about yourself to see if you get a hit and then try from there. But I would see it as being an absolutely unacceptable lie to be somebody who's married, has no plans of divorcing, but you're on a dating site and you say you're single just because you want to go.
Well, let's not judge. Let's not be too hasty.
Interestingly enough, on The Real Housewives of New York, there's this one character on that show who wears a prosthetic leg. And she talked about how she went on a date with a guy. She really liked him. They were smitten. 4 dates in, she realized, oh my God, I haven't told him that I wear a prosthetic leg yet. And then when she did tell him, he ran for the hills. So when it comes to online dating, when you, that is horrible. That is horrible. Okay. But when it comes to certain situations like that, I think online dating can make it a little more complicated because you don't want to outright say, hey, I have a prosthetic leg, but at the same time, is that considered a lie? Is that a white lie? Is that a big lie? Is it something that you should tell the person immediately after you meet them on a first date? I mean, we obviously don't have that problem, but I think it goes to what you were saying, Desi, about how there are certain things that you can probably get away with not sharing on that online platform.
Not right away.
Right
you
away.
have to do it eventually, again, with the idea that, they have this idealized Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, you've got mail thing where once you find out who they are, then it'll be okay. It'll be all right. They'll love you anyway.
And I think if you do have something to disclose, along those lines or something, I think also don't roll it out like you just got diagnosed with cancer. Don't, because if you come across telling this person that this is a horrible thing or that this is a huge defect, that's how they're going to interpret it. So at least try and be kind of positive about it, show that this is not something that defines your life or something, but don't roll it out as like, all right, I have to tell you something. It's a huge drag, and here it is. Because that's exactly how they're going to interpret it.
I want to hear how you roll out the good side of herpes.
Yeah, well, so there you go.
Lucas, final question for you. I'm curious to see what you have to say about this. When it comes to online dating, would you argue that it's empowering knowing that you have this tool as a professional? Because a lot of people these days are working more than 8 hours a day, and you have this new tool. So do you think that this has something to do with this taboo kind of dwindling down to no longer existing?
Totally. I mean, I think ultimately the idea of online dating is a great idea because, actually finding someone that you like is hard enough, and then putting in the time to go on, 3 or 4 dates to the point where you might find out that this is not someone who has a personality that you maybe like or whatever, that's a big amount of investment. And basically what a dating site is just a filtering process. Mm-hmm. So you're just filtering through people until you get to a subset that is going to have a much higher proportion of people that you're going to hit it off with. So it may not be the first one, but you're much more likely to. You're going to have to spend a lot less time sifting through people, as it were.
What a romantic.
So I think
it's Mr. Romantic over here, Lucas.
But it's realistic, I think, and I like it. I like knowing that if I become single, there's like this huge database of men that I can access at my convenience and go out on dates. Like, honestly, I'm being realistic with you guys. There's something empowering about that. Not having to go to a bar. It's crowded. There's music. There's guys rubbing themselves against you. Like, I don't want to deal with any of that.
Why is there a taboo anyway? I mean,
Yeah.
I understand why it was there in the first place, but now why is it still a problem?
Yeah, I actually don't think it is anymore. I think that taboo has kind of lifted.
I think it's totally normalized now.
I think so too.
I think it's getting there, but I think that any degree of taboo there has to do with a romanticized version of what love was in the past anyways. But a lot of people wound up in marriages they didn't like, and just the fact is getting divorced was a much more taboo thing to do, 50 years ago or something. So I think people think of person-to-person sort of happenstance meeting as the best way. But I think that is just, like I said, it's an idealized sort of heightened version of what happened in the past. And I don't think it actually is the way
Happens
it
in
was.
books and movies, not so much in real life.
Exactly.
Well, if we lie on our online profiles, dating profiles, we can always lie later on about how we met. Make it up. Why not? Starts with lying, it ends with lying. It's a nice through line to have.
Wrap it up in a nice little package of deception.